If you've ever argued with your GPS, only to end up driving in circles, or relied on autocorrect, only to send a message that made no sense, don't worry, you're not alone.
Welcome to AI Explored. AI Explored.
Welcome back to AI Explored, the human's guide to the future. I'm Jeremy, your host, the same human who still triple checks my calendar after AI helpfully reschedules things without my asking. Today, we're diving into something that affects all of us. Whether we're tech enthusiasts, professionals, or casual users, automation bias. It's that all too human tendency to trust automated systems a little too much, sometimes at the expense of better judgment. Think about this. How often do we let autocorrect polish our message, or trust a fitness tracker to gauge how healthy we are? Or, zooming out, how many workplaces now depend on AI tools to forecast trends, hire candidates, or manage workflows? But what happens when we trust these systems more than we should? Or worse, what happens when we overestimate our ability to interpret what they tell us? In this episode, we'll explore how automation bias shapes our decisions, why we're so quick to trust AI, and the hidden risk of putting too much faith in the bots. Strap in, adjust your headphones, and prepare for launch. Our mission to demystify AI starts now. Let's get into it then. Automation is supposed to make life easier, and for the most part, it does. AI-driven systems are assisting doctors, driving our cars, and curating our news feeds. But here's the real question. At what point do we stop questioning the machine and just assume it's always right? Because that, my friends, is where things get messy. Welcome to automation bias, the tendency to overtrust AI systems even when they're obviously wrong. We've all been there. The GPS tells you to take a left turn, and even though you're staring at a lake, you still hesitate for a second thinking, well, maybe the car knows something I don't. Or maybe you've seen doctors relying too heavily on AI diagnostic tools, even when their own experience tells them something is off. That's automation bias in action. Let's take a step back and understand why this happens. Human brains love shortcuts. I'll say it again. Human brains love shortcuts. AI makes decisions seem faster, cleaner, and more precise than human judgment, and that's comforting. We want to believe that if a system is smart enough to outplay chess grandmasters and write legal documents in seconds, it must be better than us at making high-stakes decisions, too. But is it? Here's where things start to break down. AI doesn't think. It predicts based on patterns, and sometimes it predicts wrong. But because the responses sound confident and data-driven, we trust it more than we should. And when this happens in low-risk situations, like Netflix recommending a bad movie, it's annoying. But when it happens in aviation, finance, or healthcare, it can be catastrophic. Let's look at a real-world example. In 2009, Air France Flight 447 crashed into the Atlantic because of automation overreliance. When the plane's autopilot system encountered an error, the pilots, who had been trained to trust the system implicitly, became disoriented. Instead of manually correcting the issue, they deferred to automation for too long. And by the time they realized they had to take control, it was too late. 228 lives were lost. That wasn't just a mechanical failure, it was automation bias at its worst. Now let's bring it back to AI. We're seeing the same over-reliance in medicine. Doctors are deferring to AI diagnostic models even when their instincts tell them something is off. AI tools found in hospitals have been found to systematically misdiagnose certain conditions, and because the system is trusted, doctors sometimes hesitate to override it. Studies have shown that when human experts and AI systems work together, accuracy improves. But when humans blindly follow AI outputs without thinking critically, error rates increase. Seems pretty obvious, right? And here's the kicker: the bias isn't just affecting professionals, it's affecting you. If you use AI generated search results, recommendation algorithms, or financial forecasting tools, chances are you've already been nudged by automation bias without realizing it. Ever noticed how when Google suggests an answer, you're way less likely to question it, even if it sounds off? That's your brain saying, well, the machine must know better than me. But here's the fun part: AI isn't some all knowing oracle, it's just really good at sounding confident. And confidence doesn't equal accuracy. Just ask any politician. So, if automation bias is about blindly trusting AI, what happens when AI itself is overconfident? Because, let's be real, AI isn't just making mistakes, it's making mistakes with conviction. We've all heard the phrase, fake it till you make it. Well, AI does that every day, except it never actually knows if it made it. It just keeps making predictions with absolute confidence, even when it's catastrophically wrong. And because it presents those answers with no hesitation, we tend to believe it. That's what makes overconfidence in AI so dangerous. This ties directly to something psychologists call the Dunning-Kruger effect, the idea that people with low ability tend to overestimate their competence because they lack the knowledge to realize what they don't know. Now, AI doesn't think like humans, but its behavior mirrors this phenomenon. It confidently predicts outcomes, regardless of whether it actually understands the problem it's solving. The difference? Humans can learn from experience and self correct. AI just keeps generating answers, unaware that it might be completely off base. But here's where it gets worse. Humans are now adopting that same overconfidence after using AI. The moment an AI system tells us something, we start believing we suddenly know the topic deeply. It's like looking up symptoms online and deciding you're now a trained doctor. AI presents information with authority, and in return, users overestimate their own expertise just because AI confirmed their beliefs. Let's look at a prime example: AI in criminal justice. Courts in the US have used AI driven risk assessment tools to predict whether a defendant is likely to reoffend. These models have been shown to be wrong nearly half the time, yet they continue to influence parole decisions. And because the system presents its predictions as mathematically sound, judges trust it, even when it contradicts human intuition. Imagine your freedom being decided by an algorithm that's just confidently guessing. Worse still, judges who rely on AI too much may start believing they understand risk assessment better than they actually do, just because AI reinforced their decisions. And it's not just the legal system. AI in finance is making high stakes trading decisions based on patterns that don't always exist. During the 2010 flash crash, high frequency trading algorithms designed to react faster than humans triggered a market meltdown in minutes. Billions of dollars vanished in thin air because AI confidently followed its own flawed logic without realizing it was making a mistake. The market recovered, but the blind overconfidence of AI trading systems nearly collapsed global exchanges. And in the process, financial analysts who trusted AI too much believed they had a complete grasp of market behavior until they didn't. Then there's medicine. In 2018, researchers tested an AI system designed to diagnose pneumonia from chest x rays. It performed well until they realized it wasn't identifying pneumonia at all. Instead, it was picking up on which hospital the x ray was taken in and using that as a proxy for the diagnosis. The AI was confidently wrong, and doctors who relied on it could have misdiagnosed real patients. But beyond that, medical professionals who consistently trust AI generated diagnoses may develop a false sense of expertise, reinforcing biases rather than questioning them. And here's where things get really uncomfortable: AI never questions itself. And now, neither do we. It never second guesses. It never stops and thinks, wait, am I absolutely sure about this? But humans do. And that's where we have an edge: when we actually use it. If we just repeat what AI tells us without thinking critically, we can stop being intelligent consumers of information and start becoming passive echo chambers. So, how do we deal with this? First, we need explainable AI, Systems that don't just spit out confident answers, but actually show why they made a decision. Second, we need AI skepticism built into workflows. Doctors, judges, financial analysts, and pilots should be trained to challenge AI outputs, not just accept them. And finally, we need to acknowledge that AI's confidence isn't competence, no matter how convincing it sounds. And when AI teaches us something, we need to remember that understanding a summary isn't the same as being an expert. Because the last thing we need is a future where AI is confidently wrong and we just nod along, trusting it like it's the smartest person in the room. Newsflash, it's not. It's just the loudest. And worse, now it makes us think we're the smartest person in the room, too. All right, so now we know AI can be blindly trusted and dangerously overconfident. But what happens when we go one step further? When we don't just rely on AI, we actually let it start making decisions for us. Because that's exactly where we're headed. AI isn't just assisting humans anymore, it's actively making decisions that impact lives. Hiring algorithms are choosing who gets interviews. Automated financial systems are approving or denying loans. AI driven sentencing models are influencing prison terms. And in many cases, these systems are operating without human oversight. Take Amazon, for example. They once deployed an AI powered hiring tool to screen job applicants. The goal? Automate recruitment and find the best candidates faster. The result? The AI systematically downgraded resumes that included the word women because it had been trained on years of hiring data where male candidates were preferred. Amazon scrapped the system, but the lesson was clear. AI reflects the biases of its data, and when it's left unchecked, it makes discriminatory decisions with confidence. And then there's AI in financial services. Banks are using machine learning to approve or deny loan applications without a human ever reviewing them. That means if an AI system incorrectly flags a credit profile as risky, you could be denied a mortgage or a car loan without a single person double checking why. These decisions impact people's lives in a profound way, and yet the AI behind them is often a black box, completely unexplainable even to the banks using it. And let's not forget AI driven decision making in healthcare. Some hospitals are using AI not just to diagnose diseases, but to decide who gets priority care. In theory, that sounds efficient. In practice, it can mean AI determining who gets an ICU bed during a crisis and who doesn't. Now, imagine if that AI was trained on biased or incomplete data sets. Are we really comfortable letting an algorithm make life and death choices when it doesn't even understand what it's doing? First, we need human oversight, non negotiable. AI should assist decisions, not replace them. Second, we need explainability. If AI denies someone a loan, makes a medical decision, or determines a hiring outcome, there should be a clear, auditable reason why. Third, we need bias audits and accountability. It's not enough to say the AI made a mistake. Someone has to own that mistake and ensure it doesn't happen again. Because the last thing we want is a future where we're all at the mercy of an overconfident, unregulated AI overlord that doesn't even know why it's making decisions. I don't know about you, but I'd at least like my life changing decisions to involve one person who's actually capable of questioning the machine. So we've established that AI is making real world decisions, hiring employees, approving loans, determining medical treatment priorities. That's already concerning. But here's the even bigger question. What happens when AI gets it wrong? Who's responsible? Because right now, that answer is murky at best. Think about it. If a human doctor misdiagnoses a patient, there are legal pathways for accountability. If a financial officer wrongly denies a loan, they have to answer for it. But when an AI system makes a mistake, what happens? Who do you blame? The company that built the model? The engineer who trained it? The hospital or bank that deployed it? Right now, responsibility is getting passed around like a hot potato, and no one wants to own the failure. Let's talk about real world consequences. In 2020, an AI powered grading algorithm used for UK student exams downgraded thousands of students' scores unfairly. The system favored students from prestigious schools while penalizing those from underprivileged backgrounds. Parents and students were furious. Protests erupted, and the government eventually had to scrap the AI. But here's the thing: nobody took accountability. The companies behind the AI said the government implemented it. The government said we trusted the AI. And in the end, the students paid the price. And let's talk about healthcare. In some hospitals, AI is used to predict which patients should get intensive care during a crisis, like COVID-19. The problem? These systems have been found to favor younger, healthier patients, leaving elderly and chronically ill patients deprioritized. When the families of those patients question the decision, hospitals point to the algorithm. But you can't sue an algorithm, so who's accountable? Now let's take it even further. Cybersecurity threats to AI. Oh boy. What happens when an AI model designed to approve loans or assign medical care is hacked? Attackers could manipulate AI-driven systems to systematically deny certain groups of people care or financial access. If that happens, who do we hold responsible? The AI developers? The cybersecurity team? The executives who approved the system but never tested it for adversarial attacks? Right now, those answers are unclear, and that's a massive problem. So how do we fix this? First, we need clear AI accountability laws. If AI is making high-stakes decisions, there needs to be a defined legal framework to determine who's responsible when it fails. Second, AI models need transparency and accountability. No more black box decision making. If AI is denying people loans, medical care, or opportunities, it should be required to show its reasoning in a way humans can understand. And third, companies need to proactively test their AI systems for ethical risks and security vulnerabilities, not just launch them and hope for the best. The reality is, AI isn't going anywhere. It's only going to become more embedded in the most critical aspects of our lives. But we cannot afford to treat AI as an untouchable, unaccountable force. It was built by humans, trained by humans, and deployed by humans. Well, in most cases. And that means we have to take responsibility for how it's used. Because if we don't, we're handing over life-altering decisions to a system that doesn't even understand the impact it's having. And that's a future I'm not willing to accept. We've covered a lot today. AI is changing the way decisions are made, from diagnosing diseases to determining who gets financial assistance to influencing legal and hiring outcomes. But at what cost? If we continue down this path without proper accountability, transparency, and security measures, we're creating a system where AI makes life-altering decisions without human oversight. And that's a risk we can't afford to ignore. But let's be clear, AI isn't inherently the enemy. AI has the potential to be one of the most powerful tools humanity has ever created. It can detect diseases earlier than human doctors, automate repetitive tasks, and optimize efficiency in a way we never thought possible. But like any tool, its effectiveness comes down to how we use it. Right now, too many organizations are deploying AI without fully understanding its consequences, trusting it blindly instead of challenging its decisions. And that needs to change. So where do we go from here? We need to start treating AI like what it really is: a system that requires human oversight, constant testing, and clearly defined accountability. If AI is making a decision that affects someone's life, there needs to be a clear path to challenge it, explain it, and correct it when it's wrong. And that means laws, regulations, and a shift in how organizations validate their AI security and ethical frameworks. So what do you think? Are we headed towards an AI-driven future we can trust? Or are we setting ourselves up for a system that pretends to be intelligent but lacks true wisdom? Let's keep this conversation going. Join the discussion on Human Guide to .ai or find me on social media at Human Guide to AI. I want to hear your thoughts, your concerns, your optimism, your skepticism. These conversations shape how AI is built and used, and your voice matters. Thanks for tuning in to AI Explored, the Human's Guide to the Future. I've been Jeremy, your ever-curious human navigator, still questioning whether we should trust AI with life-changing decisions, but definitely grateful that my coffee maker isn't running my finances. Although I wonder if it would do better. Until next time, stay curious, keep dreaming expansively, and never cease to explore. Remember, the future isn't pre-written, it's crafted by our collective imagination, one episode at a time.
AI Explored.